Like everyone else, here in Davis, California, we watched COVID-19 devastate communities.
Davis is a small college town, so to create the safest environment possible for everyone here in Davis,
We knew we had to draw on all the strengths in our community.
The city and the university teamed up to do what no other place did during the pandemic.
I think you need to think from an evolutionary standpoint as to what's advantageous to the virus. There are people walking around with large amounts of virus, highly infectious, and they don't have any symptoms. I was frustrated that the medical community thought that 1,000 tests a day was high throughput. And I already knew in the ag biotech companies were capable of generating millions of data points a day. The technology that we actually use for testing was designed for detecting changes in the DNA content of plants.
For maybe 10 years of my career before coming to Davis, what I focused on was something very related to the pandemic, basically the genomics of emerging infectious diseases. So I worked at an institute that did the first genome sequence of the causative agent of malaria and the first genome sequence of the causative agent of anthrax. The first community-acquired infection of SARS-CoV-2 in the United States was brought into UC Davis Hospital.
When we were told about the lockdown back in March 2020, and told to go home, I think that's when reality really hit. You know, at that point, of course, we had no idea we're going to be playing this role in getting the university back on track.
Well, one of the lessons you take from ag biotech is it's got to be simple, it's got to be fast, it's got to be inexpensive. And so our workflow, we looked at it, at the time initially, the way to do testing was to take a nasal swab, which involves shoving something right at the back of your nose, which wasn't popular. So that was out. You can't do that kind of thing at scale. And if you do it once, people are not going to come back a second time. There was already the sentiment that saliva would work. The saliva's got viscosity problems, and Lutz in the lab had the idea about papain.
Everybody said that viscosity was going to be the challenge. I mean, you could get strings from the saliva, and it would just drag across all the samples, totally contaminating everything.
Lutz Frönicke in the lab came up with the great idea of using papain, which you will know more commonly as meat tenderizer. And so what that is, it's actually a protease, chews up proteins.
That harkens back to my PhD time, and I remembered that my PhD advisor back then used papain for DNA extractions.
I was responsible for the pre-lab portion in the beginning. How would we collect and organize sample collection and bring them all here to this building, to the Genome Center, where they get processed in our genome testing facility? You know, at the beginning, we started in a parking garage with 10 people who used to work in the dining hall. And they became kiosk workers and learned how to collect saliva samples and register clients. We report back over half of our results within 24 hours, which matters. If you send in for a test and you find out 10 days later, which was happening a lot in the early pandemic, it doesn't matter. Then beyond that, Healthy Davis Together arose and wanted to expand testing to the community.
It's become a really positive and powerful partnership between the campus, the city of Davis, and Yolo County, working now in tight conjunction with each other to suppress COVID in the whole region. One of the things that we began thinking about early on was to do surveillance of things like the wastewater stream for the presence of the virus that might help us zero in, like if the wastewater stream from a particular dormitory had virus in it. We had a faculty member on campus whose research specialty was wastewater surveillance.
I started working with the campus to collect samples within buildings on campus. And then Healthy Davis Together came in, and we said, well, we can do this, but at the city scale, you know, at the wastewater treatment plant. And what if we also worked in different regions of the city so that we could could tailor our communications of, if there's a spike in a certain area of the city, we can send that information to the city directly and they can communicate out.
We're at the wastewater treatment plant for the city of Davis. And so we're going to go look at the 2 sample locations that we have here. We sample the influent composite every day of the week, as well as the primary sludge, which both gets sampled and analyzed.
What we're doing now to kind of tailor our project is focusing in on variance. We've been interpreting the data, working with public health experts and with the city to find that right balance of communicating when we're confident, but also kind of stepping out in front. If this is an early warning tool, one of the aspects of our work that's really important is our partnership with the public health department for Yolo County. We're also expanding our work into the Central Valley in partnership with UC Merced, working with public health officers, as well as the California Department of Public Health to make sure that the data that we generate here goes back to the cities, back to the people who live there.
We should be able to keep a lid on this epidemic. That's the hope, is we can really keep a lid on it by aggressive testing, very fast turnaround of results, effective contact tracing. And this just is not available pretty much anywhere else.